whatever you want to do. I think that it's important to be, we just always got to be cautious of our information being out there. And so just a reminder that if you don't put anything in the chat in regards to like your personal medical stuff. All right. So understanding VR&E and how VetNavPro can help. Again, thank you to Veteran to Veteran Honest Tower for having me out here. I think that, hold on, let me get this out of the way here. All right. Understanding VR&E. Okay, so what is VR&E? We're just going to start from the basics here because I don't know where everybody's knowledge base is to start from. VA program, the VR&E, Veterans Readiness and Employment, Chapter 31, as they call it. It used to be called VOC Rehab, Vocational Rehab. Now they changed the name of it a few times. But the idea here is to take veterans that have a service-connected disability and be able to put them in a position to where they have better employment or employment that's more suitable for them given their service-connected disability. That can also directly apply to the fact that if your disability has worsened, matter of fact, that's a big part of the reason why they created this program in the first place, is that your disability can get worse over the years. The job that you may have had is not a job that's sustainable anymore. And we're going to keep on talking about preparation being a key part of being able to articulate the difference between what your situation is now and what it was before and what it could be and what you think a better path is for yourself, not necessarily for the counselor to tell you what they think the best path is for you. The only way you can know what the best path is for yourself, the best track is for yourself, as we'll get into, is by actually putting in the work and the preparation on the front end. So qualifications, 10% or more service-connected disability rating. They have to determine employment handicap. If you have less than 10%, then you can still qualify under what they call a serious employment handicap. And I can help. We won't dive too deep into that, but y'all can ask me on the side or do some research on your own, or you can go to my site and it breaks all that stuff down too. There's a 12-year eligibility period, but that only applies if you got out after 2013. So if you got out before 2013, you still can qualify for this. Even if it's outside of 12 years, there's just kind of like a waiver type situation that you'll need to go through. And again, I can help you with that on the front end so that you know the right words to say, the right things to do, so they don't just deny you and give you no appointment initial evaluation, much less the benefits themselves. Okay, so we've got 5 tracks, right? Again, I know some of y'all may be already familiar with all this, but I like to kind of reset the baseline. Let's jump over here. I've got a, oops. All right. This is the site. So I've already got created a mock account here for Marcus Rivera. This is not a real person. On these planning tools right here, there's a lot of stuff in here. I'm not going to go through all of it, but talking about the track specifically. So we've got a portion of the site here that's going to break down these tracks specifically for you in great detail and the policies that apply to it. This is probably as good a time as any for me to throw it out there that the AI that we use within this program only is allowed to operate within guardrails of the M28C policy, the 38 CFR and the 31 USC. Those are the 31, Part 21 on 38 CFR Part 21. It's not allowed to provide answers or results outside of that. That's the difference between using like ChatGPT or Claude and what the AI is within this system. It can only answer questions within that guardrail if it's part of what you're looking for. The rest of it is just populating information. But the track 1 reemployment. So this is for if you want to return to your prior employer or comparable positions and with the same reasonable accommodations, right? So this is a fairly common one. It's not the most common one, but if you had a job, you got in, you want that same job when you get back out, but maybe you have to have that job in a different type format because of your disabilities, and this would be the track for that. At the end of this presentation here, we're going to jump into some scenarios for each track that'll help make this a little more clear if you're not already with it. Rapid access is basically going straight into employment. So this is, hey, help me find some job interview preparation, some resume preparation, job placement with actual local workforce agencies. Self-employment is one that a lot of folks have found to be the hardest one to achieve. If there's ever one that was really based on employment or employment, that was based on preparation, it's track three. You know, it's you if you show up and just say, hey, I really got this great business idea. I want to start this business. Good luck. You've got to really show up prepared with your business plan and everything in place. We have all the tools in this system here to be able to assist you to do that, so that you walk into that room virtually or physically with your counselor and be able to speak to exactly why self-employment makes sense for you. Very achievable. It's not this holy grail that a lot of folks think that no point even bothering with it, like I've heard from a lot of other vets. Long-term services is probably the most common track. So this is, going back to school or certification or apprenticeship that's going to help you bust into a new career field. Most common track here comes with subsistence allowance and other things, and a lot of times. So that's pretty common. And then 1, 2, this is why we don't call VR&E solely an employment program, because it does have, there's education to lead to better employment. There's things to lead to other employment. But there also is this independent living track, which is to help, a situation if your service-connected disability is fully preventing your employment for the time and you need some accommodations around the house, whether it be a ramp or widened out doorways or ergonomic chair or, things like that, which they're willing to provide. All right, let me jump back over here to the slideshow. A lot of misconceptions here. Oh, this is only for vets who can't work at all. No, that would actually only be independent living. My rating is too low. We talked about that. It replaces the GI Bill. Okay, so we're talking about the GI Bill here. You can use both. You just can't use them both at the same time. So the veterans that are really making the greatest benefit, if you have GI Bill left for post 9/11, are using both. You use up all your GI Bill, then you go to VR&E, or you do VR&E first, and then you use up your GI Bill. You're allowed to do it either way. And that's the way that you can really maximize a lot of education, a lot of schooling. But I usually suggest doing the VR&E first, because you're going to get approved for the VR&E a lot easier. If you've already used your GI Bill, it's fine. But if you haven't, I suggest using the VR. This is my personal opinion. Using the VR&E first, because if you use the VR&E first, there's not going to be any questions when you go to use the VR&E after the GI Bill, like, well, you've already got a degree. Why do you need the VR&E? You don't have to worry about that even being a question if you put one in front of the other. Okay, so preparing for success. So you're going to have to come to the table with the right information, right? And we have this set up on our site so that you go through each stage, and I'll show you our preparation roadmap. But you've got to get all your information together, how your service-connected disabilities affect your ability to work very specifically, right? And I suggest researching all 5 tracks, and not just to identify the one that fits your goals, but put yourself in all 5 situations. Even if it's like, oh, I'm not even close to needing the independent living. Just play them all out to get a good feel for understanding the whole program. That way, if you go into a conversation with your counselor and they try to change the direction and the recommendation for you outside of what you had in mind, that you understand more about what the track they're trying to put you in is. But the goal is for you to have done enough preparation on the outset to where that's not going to hopefully be an issue, because you're going to be able to, but you're going to be able to answer their questions before they even ask them. And when you do that, it saves these VRCs time, because this is something really important that we got to remember, is that these VRCs, their target right now, as according to the last congressional longitudinal survey they did in July of last year, is 125 vets per counselor. They haven't been able to get under 200 in a long time. So they don't have time for it. So if you show up not prepared, and like, okay, well, this is my appointment, and okay, here's my DD-214, I have my resume, maybe that's not enough, and because they're overwhelmed. They don't have time. They've got too many cases going on at once. So they're going to give priority to the folks that are prepared. And if you're not, your chances are diminished significantly. Or like I said, arriving informed changes the outcome. So knowing exactly how your disability affects your work function, we're going to keep talking about that over and over again. So, okay, exactly what if you've got neck pain and you can't work over your head anymore, so you need to be at a desk job, or maybe your PTSD and your TBI is making it to where you are better suited for working remotely. whatever the case may be, you have to be able to apply that directly to your service-connected disability specifically. It's the biggest part of the preparation. And then coming to the table with a career goal. So I'm not really sure what I want to do. That's not going to fly. They don't have time to sit there and talk that out with you. You've got to have a plan, a few different options in place of exactly how you're going to achieve that plan and why the schooling or the assistance that you need is going to lead you to accomplish that plan and why it's a better solution for you. There's a whole lot of information that you're going to need to bring to the table, but I'm going to show you all this letter that they send. Okay, so let's see, preparation roadmap. When I talk about going through the steps, just so you know, like this is what we're talking about, right? So you're going to put in like, what's your disability rating? What conditions are service connected? How do they affect your cognitive or your emotional work functions? What's your employment status? What's your education background? Like this is what they need. Identifying your employment barrier. Here's exactly what my limitations are, how it impacts me, and the system will help you write this stuff out, or you can write it yourself, but you always want to have it be in your own words in your own situation. But anyway, that just kind of gives you a little bit of idea of your career history, exploring the tracks. But there's a form here called the Form 281902W. It's a VA form that they're going to expect you to have filled out. When you fill out this information earlier here, and you get down to this part, this form is something they're going to expect you to have in most cases on your initial appointment. That information that you filled out will populate into this form. Yeah. And let's see if I can pull this up right here the right way without messing this up. There we go. All right, can y'all see that? Okay. So it's going to fill out this form for you. This is the form that they're going to send you, right? So you've got to, this is a big part of like the process, is having this form filled out correctly. See how it starts populating some of it, but it's not going to populate your personal information because we never asked for your personal information and we don't want it. That's your private information, your HIPAA information, and so forth. Anyway, that gives you an idea of what that looks like. So that's one of the main forms, and they're going to send you a letter. They're going to be asking for different information, but you've got to, like I said, you've got to be able to coordinate all that and have it all together ahead of time, not just the couple little things that they ask for, but all this information ahead of time, or else you're already behind the eight ball. So we talk about the common mistakes that veterans make. Like I've said probably 10, 15 times already. I keep on saying it, lack of preparation. So I don't want to just tell folks like, hey, you need to be prepared and then not tell you how to prepare. Hopefully I'm kind of showing you here about how to start down that path, and we can dive into it deeper individually one-on-one if y'all want to after the fact here. But having nothing for the VRC to work with when you come to the table, like I said, you've already shot yourself in the foot. Unrealistic career goals, so it's got to be feasible. You can't be like, oh, okay, well, I just want to go into cybersecurity because I can get paid more. That's not going to be enough for them, right? You have to be able to, like I said, correlate it directly to your service-connected disability. We'll talk about some of these scenarios more when we go over the individual track scenarios. Failure to articulate employment handicap. We've talked about that. Missing documentation. You've got to have all your ducks in a row before you come to the table, because because of the fact that they're so overwhelmed with work, if you don't have everything ready and you're not able to get that information to them, I mean, shoot, my business partner, Marine, he was told that he had to have proof from a civilian doctor by Friday. It was a Tuesday, that was referring to PTSD affecting, his work environment, or what his work environment, what he needed it to be. Now, what civilian doctor is going to be able to pull that information in 5 days and turn that around and get you a letter that you can actually present, to the VA? It's unlikely, to say the least. So getting all this stuff ready ahead of time is crucial. And then misunderstanding the program expectations. Look, it's not a passive benefit. You've got to keep on working with them all day and every day and keeping in touch with them and communicating back and forth with your counselor, or they'll remove you from the program. So we got to make sure and stay in touch with them and follow up with those appointments and be on time for them. Okay, denials is a big one. Maybe a few of y'all here have dealt with this. I think probably like 80% of the 150 plus vet or 140 plus vets that we have working through our system right now, um, probably 80% of them are there because of the fact that they got denied. That's okay. That's not the end of the road. We have some very powerful tools that we put together for denial specifically. It's just right here, what to do if denied. All right. So the first of all, this is real common. It's unfortunately it's unfortunately very common. It shouldn't be as common as it is. That's just a reality of it. And like I said, it comes back to a lot of the times is that folks weren't prepared, so they just got denied out the gate. But that doesn't mean your journey's over by a long shot. So you have to understand your denial letter. So you've got to be able to specifically be able to put that, to pick that apart and get the real reason out of it based on these items here that are listed. And then we have a denial analyzer where you can upload your letter into it, and it'll help pull that information out of there for you in case you can't, or you need some assistance with that. But here's the part that's really the big issue or the big strategy. So you have rights, and these rights are listed down here. Where are they at? Here we are. These are to promote your case. It's like these are the actual, your actual rights that they put together. This is not us putting this information together that you can reference, and we'll help you do that so that you're referencing the letter of the law that they wrote that they're supposed to adhere to. And like I said, I think that they really want to most of the time. It's just a matter of timing. It's just a matter of how much time they've got. But you can put a supplemental claim in. You can ask for a higher level review, and then you can go to Board of Veterans Appeals. And if that doesn't work, you can go through your congressman. We've got another tool on our site too, where if you don't know how to contact your local congressman, you just key in their zip code, and it pulls up whoever your local congressman to contact is. All right. Yeah. Denial is not a permanent bar. So again, don't get frustrated and be like, this is BS, wasting my time, VR&E. It's not, this program doesn't work. Um, Look, anything worth having is worth fighting for, is what my daddy always taught me. And I still believe that. And I try to live by that. So the work has to be put in if you want the results. In this case with VR&E, requires a heck of a lot more work than most other programs that are out there, but the benefits are real, and they do come through. And I've experienced that, not without a lot of hard work and a lot of headaches. And I wish I would have had this system that I built. This why I built this system, but Dominic knows the same thing, and John. So hopefully you guys find this useful. So I've already showed you some of what VetNavPro has to offer here, but I tell like we built this just to help folks be prepared veterans, and then like show them exactly how to be prepared instead of just saying be prepared, and knowing how to articulate exactly what they need to articulate to be able to give themselves the best chance for success. And again, you've seen kind of how it worked. I've shown you there too. I encourage you to go out there and play with it. Like I said, you're not going to break it. Just and if you do break it, good, because then that shows me that there's something I need to fix. I want to hear everybody's feedback. It's just one tool. If you don't like the tool, that's fine. It doesn't change the moral of the story here, which is you need to be prepared. So whether you use what I built for free, or you use just a VSO, or you use both, or you use something completely different, I just encourage you to really focus on that preparation being the unequivocal, like there is no replacement for that you're going to have to put in some hours, and hopefully this takes this from weeks worth of work to just hours for you, what I've built. But either way, it's got to get done. Get to give yourself a chance to either come back to an appeal, to successfully appeal a denial, or to start your VR&E journey in the way that you want to. And that's pretty much all I got right here. Um, I'll stop sharing here. Let's see. And yeah, if we want to kind of jump in, Dominic, I don't know if you want to jump into some of those scenarios we can talk about, or however you want to do. I guess I hit that right about 25 minutes. Hopefully that's all right.
So before we go to scenarios, is any questions at this point right now from the website or anything, any general questions out there? If you just raise your hand, we'll click on you. We'll try to answer those questions.
Real quick, this is being recorded, so if you're going to get into anything descriptive that's going to be personal information, just preface that so we can stop the recording. But preferably just try to be as generic as possible so that we don't have to worry about the information being put on here that if that makes sense. But William, you had your hand up first.
Yeah, so I've been writing down some basic questions. Um, that's just what I do. I don't know if this is like too much for right now or whatever, but I feel like they should just be short answers. But the so back in the day when I did VR&E, I ran into a bunch of problems. A couple of my counselors got fired, all that stuff. And then I did a peer support training for a 40-hour class, and they're like, "Okay, you're done." And I'm like, okay, well, now, kind of like you're talking about now, I've been working in mental health for 5 years. I moved up the ranks, whatever, and now I can't do it because my disabilities are getting worse. My shoulders burn, all that, right? Um, so then I wanted to ask in 2013 when the things changed you're talking about, what month was that, if you know, because I retired in 2013, so I want to make sure I'm over the.
I want to say, William, off the top of my head, that it is a January 1st thing.
Okay, good.
Um, yep, yep. So, yeah, if you got out after, but again, it's not a complete no. If you got out before that, there's just more. You've just got to come to the table. You're basically building kind of a waiver packet for yourself, at that point. If it was before 2013, but you get out afterward, there's no time limit. All right, yeah.
Okay. And then this might sound obvious, but don't they have my records?
Boy, that's the $1 million one right there. I think any of us can answer that, but man, yeah, they should. They can pull they'll pull your DD-214, your basic medical record, but I've had people that I've talked to that have said that they didn't even have that ready for the first appointment. So I just I would rather be way, way, way too prepared than even slightly unprepared. So I think that the longer answer is to that, William, is just don't ever give them a reason, or don't give anybody a reason um, to deny you any benefit that you've earned with your service. And
Mhm.
and the only way to really do that is by advocating for yourself. And just have all your information, everything you could possibly have, overkill all day long. Just have all that information ready. You may only need half of it, but better to have it and not need it, right? So
Right.
that would be my recommendation there. But yes, they are supposed to have access to that information, and oftentimes they do bring that in a preparatory way to the meetings. But I have definitely heard many stories where they don't.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to get with you offline if possible.
Most certainly. We'll get my contact information out there before we sign off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary?
Yes, Mary Smith here, Air Force veteran. Got denied the first time. I was persistent, got approved. I had the track for education to do the upskill. The question is, I have service-connected disabilities, and I got accepted on a disability that was part of my application. Since then, I'm in the process of getting an increase for another service-connected disability. So, how would these equipment and supplies be for the part of the VR&E?
Okay, so we're really regardless of what track it is, um, some supplies are going to be a part of that. So just because you're in one specific track or another doesn't mean that they won't provide you with, a lot. Don't hold me to this because I'm not saying it's a guarantee. Nothing's guaranteed. That's the only thing that I can guarantee. But a lot of folks say like, "Oh, did you get your free laptop yet? Did you get your laptop yet?" Like the VRD, like it's kind of known for that they'll send you a MacBook with a pat on the back if they feel like it's earned. Which, hey, that's not nothing, right? But if you're talking about Mary, like for things that can accommodate your disability specifically, that's most definitely a big part of the VRE. That's just a matter of getting all that information together, like I talked about, and being prepared and presenting it to your coming back to them, coming back to your counselor if you still have a point of contact, or reaching back out to them to reinitiate that contact. Because the whole purpose of the VRE, I think I mentioned at the outset, it's to address as your service disabilities change as time goes by, right? So it's not like a static thing like, well, I got this and I used VRE in 2014 and that's it. Now, if your situation changes, then you have access to the program again.
Okay,
Um,
great.
so yeah, let me know and I'll help you put together whatever you need to put together to be able to articulate that. The site can help you with that, but that situation's a little more unique, so I don't want you to get lost in the sauce. So you can just reach out to me directly, and we'll get together next week and talk it out.
Okay, I'm excited because I start this fall.
Okay, yeah, no, that's great. We love to hear good success stories, and look, the program does work for a lot of folks. It's just you got to kind of, you got to show up and almost force it down folks' throat. Like, hey, look, I'm here and I'm ready, and anything short of that. Nothing's to get you. Look, you could put in all the hard work in the world and still wouldn't be guaranteed any outcomes. That's for sure. But like I said, the one thing I can promise you is if you're not extremely overly prepared, then good luck. Then you're kind of rolling the dice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
So, any other questions? All right, Dominic, you want to roll over to the 5 tracks, or David's got a question.
Yeah, my question is that I was denied actually, and the reason is they said that you have enough skills and work history, but the problem I run into now is that was like when I was like 3 months unemployed, and now it's like almost 2 years looking. So I was going to reapply because the skills that I have are getting kind of dated when it's in cybersecurity. And that's kind of what I'm running up against in some of the ways.
Okay, yeah, for sure on that one, David. That's unfortunately a real common scenario that we hear is the response that you have enough job skills already. You don't need, they used to call it like I said, the vocational rehabilitation and employment program. But the way that their mindset works on that is that you're already rehabilitated. You already have the job skills that you would need to get a job. This is for people that need job skills to get a job. So this is where it comes back into it being very specific to that you got to start back from scratch, and hopefully our system helps you do that, or you find a VSO that can help you do that if you prefer whatever method you prefer to get the assistance of the direction that you need. But you got to start back from scratch and start with, this is where I am today. Now I'm unemployed now for a couple of years. I've been telling you all that I needed, a different path in the assistance. This is exactly what my service-connected disability is today. This is what it was before before I was employed last, and how that employment exacerbated it, and how the skills that I have are not relevant anymore. So I need that. I mean, that's exactly what your situation is, exactly the reason why the VRE program exists. So for you to be denied for it, spits directly in the face of the whole purpose of the program. So I would really encourage you to dive back in, because your scenario is the exact reason why VRE exists. So without a doubt, based on just what you told me here shortly, that you're a strong candidate for VRE that should get the support that you've earned. So let me know what help that you need with it. So maybe start from scratch on VetNavPro if you want, or wherever you want to do it, or if you don't, if you just
Okay.
want
Yeah,
to
I created the
email me or
account.
message me.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, and like I said, with a lot of folks, I'll tell this too. I see that a lot of questions popping up, so I don't want to rattle on too much. But like I've told people, there's a commitment part when you first sign in, and it's just a thing that you click, but it's a mental thing that you need to be able to commit the time to, because you're still going to put in hours of work.
Hmm.
It's still going to take that time. Um, there's no,
And
there's no,
when I went, I had everything there that they needed. It's just the lady decided, pretty much, when she looked at the thing and she's like, well, you were making X amount of dollars. That's plenty enough,
and
and
you may have done this, certainly, David. And a lot of folks have, a lot of folks like, look, I did prepare, and I'm not saying that anybody didn't. What I would say the difference is between showing up with all the paperwork that they ask you for. That's the bare minimum. That's the one thing I want to be clear on, is that just showing up with most of your service record, your employment record, and your medical records, and in your
have
education
that Schedule
background.
A letter and then a letter from two doctors as well.
So definitely all the paperwork that's a huge first step, most important first step. But the next part of it that a lot of folks miss on, and kind of what we're trying to build here, is you have to be able to tell your own story to why all that paperwork connects to itself, to exactly why you to be able to articulate that. And that's part of what we're talking about here with the preparation, is
Mhm.
that it's not just a paperwork thing. It's a real important baseline to it. That's the foundation of it. That's your background, it's your history, it's your life. But if you don't have the ability to articulate how all that ties together, and like A is B, therefore C, like if you can't walk through it in that way to them, then they're just
Mhm.
going to start jumping to their own conclusions. They may not even, they're going to come to the same conclusions that you have, because it's not their life. And they may have the best of intentions, but they're trying to fastball through this because of their caseload.
Okay.
And and just to double back on that, because I kind of talked about, I'm in VR&E myself. The articulation piece is so hard because I currently work. So when you currently work, unlike, you're unemployed or whatever, you've been unemployed for 2 years and you're looking to reapply. When you come back, reapply, they might say, hey, you already got, let's say you got you got your bachelor's in cybersecurity, and you also have some, I don't know, PMP certification as well. They feel like, hey, you can get a job in this poor cyber. You looking at like they got a new cybersecurity thing. I want to go get this degree or look for my master's for these reasons. The thing is, for these reasons. Why do you want to go for these reasons? Once you justify why I want to go for these reasons, because the biggest thing for you is I've been unemployed for 2 years. I can show you my compass, or I can show you an Excel sheet that says I've been applying for 30 jobs. I've been applying for jobs, an average between 30 to 40 jobs a month. I have not got anything. The jobs that are open is always open. I see have master's degrees. These are the top jobs in my areas, and this job hasn't been filled for over 45 days. It's a gap. If I were to have my master's degree, I could fill that job. those
Mhm.
those articulations on top of the medical stuff, because the doctor stuff is very important. Even with Murray, when you want to go get your let's say you want to get an economic chair or you want to get a desk or something, you get a note from a doctor. That's almost a green light to say, hey, let's say you have something with your back, 20% with your back on top of your feet or something like that. You want to use a standing laptop. That correlates with what you're saying on top of the doctor's note for equipment. Now, like I told you, back to you, David, that is the
Mhm.
key. The articulation of I've been applying for 2 years, and you have a compass. You can show your counselor the jobs you'd apply for, and this is why I need to get my master's degree or whatever the degree you're trying to get. And that's more justification on top of the doctor's notes, on top of the fact that you've been working towards this. That when you go to reapply, you should be. I'm not. There's no guarantees, but it should be no issues with the reapply and you getting that support.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
No worries. Go ahead. Who's between
Joshua
who?
was next.
Okay, Josh.
Hey, good morning. So I'm in a interesting predicament right now. So I applied back in March. I had an intake in April. The person told me that within 2 to 4 weeks I should be hearing something. It's been more than that. I sent an email following up. Haven't received anything. I actually went to an office close to where I live that they have a VR&E office. And when I asked for a follow-up, they actually sent me an email for a new intake. And I was like, hey, just to clarify, is this for new or is this to follow up with the application that I already had? And then I got an email back saying, oh, I'm going to talk to my supervisor and the person that did the intake, and then we'll get back to you. And now crickets.
How long has it been since you heard from him last?
Week. I
Okay.
know it's so
No, no, no. Better to
yeah,
stay on
so
top of it, yeah. And time's going by, and you're trying to get things moving with your life, and education, employment, and everything, right? So, no, I mean, obviously, you always want to stay on top of it. I would say that with it being a week and knowing how backed up they are, this is not what's right or wrong. But in my opinion, I'm just giving the feedback from since I've talked to so many folks in the VRD program every day. Um, I mean, they're they're the initial eval from when folks are signing up for the eligibility on va.gov, it's averaging like 60 or 90 days now. And then that's just to get your first appointment, right? And then after that, like the follow up, they're turning around. That's why I would be very diligent and continue to stay on top of them because it sucks, but it's the truth. If it's sitting there for a while, they may just, and if there's, I know it's kind of dangerous because I want our program to be a part of the VRE, so it helps improve them. So I don't want to talk trash on it, but it may just be sitting there, and once it's sitting there for a while, they may just go ahead and deny it and just put it off the side.
yeah,
It happens. So I'm not saying that to give you a negative perception of how or put any negative energy on what your situation is, but stay on top and be like, look, and then keep on like document this too on our site. We have a free case tracker where you can put in every one of your interactions with them and what kind of an interaction it was, and it's basically just like an organizer type thing. But what it does is it allows you to keep that all in one space. Every email, every phone call, every interview, whatever. It's just called the case tracker. And what that's going to be able to do is you have a log now to where if they deny you at some point in this process, then you come back to them and you start invoking your rights by the policy that they wrote. And
okay,
that's the best way that you can protect yourself. Hopefully it doesn't get to that point. Hopefully you hear from them the next week or so. I wouldn't say that a week is crazy as far as the amount of time they've got back to you. I'd start getting a lot more aggressive with it, a lot more proactive with it than just reaching out once a week or so. I'd start beating down their door after 30 days. Um, but look, they're like I said at the outset, they're way, way, way overworked and underpaid, like a lot of folks.
yeah,
So yeah, I would try to use some of those tools and then stay in touch with me. Let me know what's going on with your situation, and but go back to and like start building your case again. You may not have to use it, but keep on adding more to your case so that you have even more firepower the next time that you do talk to them, and that you're
okay.
prepared.
Because my thing is, I just recently retired, but I'm also looking to get something different because so I had a medical retirement. So I was doing an MEB, and I tried to apply through IDIS, which is a different, I guess for them, it's a different outlet or angle. That's why I was able to get the initial intake quickly. But
Okay.
then afterwards, I'm just up in the air. And then I did it while I was still in the medical process. I'm already medically retired and I haven't heard anything from it. I'm doing everything that I can to get a job and whatever, because I have a bachelor's degree, but it's a bachelor's degree in IT with no certifications. So I'm
Yeah.
like right in the middle, like most people that have, yes, I have a bachelor's degree. Perfect. Yeah, I have no
Yeah.
certifications. Therefore, it's useless until I get a certification.
Yeah, and they'll be quick to tell you that too, is that hey, look, you've already got a bachelor's degree. You've got this looks like the perfect thing for you. You're already good. Um, that's not the case.
Yeah.
But that's why you have to build that story out. So very, very specifically, like the paperwork is a huge first part of it, like we were talking about with David. But you've got to be able to build that story. You got to create that story for him. And like I said, hopefully some of the tools we have help do that. But It's that story, it's that general narrative, as we call it, that you're going to provide to your counselor that shows them like, okay, he knows exactly what he's talking about. There's a plan here. This is not throwing good money after bad. It's not somebody trying to milk the system or whatever. This is somebody. This is a veteran that's putting in the work. He's putting the time. We can tell that, and of course, logically, they're going to be more prone to want to be able to give you the benefits that you've earned when you've showed that you put that work in. But
Yeah, it's like Outlaw was mentioning. There's a bunch of jobs in my area, but most of them require, like, for example, I'm trying to apply for USA jobs. For me to be even close to a GS9 position, I need a master's. A
yeah,
bachelor's doesn't get me anything. Bachelor's barely gets me a G7, GS7.
that's
So
So with that being said, right, same thing I told him, it doesn't necessarily change. Have your articulation of why I got my bachelor's, but then I need to get my master's for these reasons, and have 5 to 10 jobs announcements to say that. And if you do apply for some jobs, even if you say, well, I'm gonna apply because I have necessary the degree, but I apply and I have the work or the years of in the IT world per se. And if you get denied or you get another candidate, and let's say it's with, I don't know, Amazon. If you get back to that hiring manager, hey, why you didn't choose me? If they respond back because you don't have the master's degree, keep that information, log it. So when you see your counselor, hey, I've not only been applying for jobs, I actually applied for a job, I got denied, and I asked what was denied, and they came back and told me you don't have a master. We need somebody with that master's degree, and you don't have that. That's the only reason you were denied. You might did a great interview, etc. But that was one of our prerequisites that you have to have. Then the other piece of it is I won't be too long with it, but I'm in VRD right now. My counselor, humans are humans, right? So you might have had a human that had a life issue, medical issue, something that caused them to step away from VRD, or they had to get your case with them, it got sidetracked, or it might got, I don't want to say lost in the system, but maybe you had a counselor that stepped away or had something go on or went on leave or something. And they went to a new counselor, they haven't gotten to you yet. Or they say, hey, he applied for this 2 months ago, 3 months ago, hey, we need you to reapply. So once you reapply, you like, I got to start all over again. I feel the same way. I got a counselor. I'm in school. He sent me a desk and a chair. I'm waiting for my computer, my laptop. Now all of a sudden, I've been waiting for 45 days. Now it's like I got a new counselor. I need a new form, a 1904. I think it's a 1904, 1905 all over again. I'm like, I'm frustrated because I'm like, I talked to the counselor. I got a new appointment. I'm like, why? I didn't want a new counselor. It was like, hey, he had some life issues going on. He had to step away. Now I got to start. I'm like, my stuff's not in the system. He was like, we can't see anything that their previous counselor did. So I got to resubmit a whole new computer list, a whole new. Is it right? No. But guess what? It's a little bit of frustrating, but I have to take, you know what? Let's move on for it. I can't control what's done. That's the black and white of it. Hey, you could give me the form or you could sit there and be mad about it, right? I'm going to give you what you need. We're going to move on for it. He apologized, and that's just the process. So with you, I say it's been a week. On average, when I first initially applied, it took them about 30, 45 days. And I was calling headquarters, leaving voicemails, emails. I got nothing. Then all of a sudden, I got a random email saying you have an appointment tomorrow. And I was like, okay, no worries. I'll do it. Got into an apartment, and it kind of flowed. Then all of a sudden, the counselor went away. So don't get discouraged. I had people wait 45 days, 60 days, and they finally got some. And some people wait 3 weeks. It depends your area, it depends on their headquarters, depends on that process. But you in the process now. If you got to redo the form, do what they ask you to do. But while you wait, be prepared. So, because every conversation is like $1 million conversation. So already have the announcements ready, already have things ready so that you're not, oh, give me this, give me that. No, I'm gonna have everything ready for you. So here you go. And I tell everybody this, they say you get your VRA appointment. When you got them on the phone, make your next appointment. Don't get off the phone and say, hey, I'll be reaching out to you within the next 90 days. No, no, no. Lock in your appointment that day. Like if you want to do 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, let them pull their calendar up and say, hey, I can get you next Monday at 3 p.m. Does that work for you? Yes, sir, it works for me. Yes, ma'am. Yes, it works. So you're locked in. So 3 weeks from today, 2 weeks from today, I got another appointment with my counselor. Don't do that. I'm going to schedule you 90 days out. Get on the schedule while you're on the call. Let them send you a Zoom link or whatever, the EV link that they send through the website. So you pretty much locked in. Let me get off the soapbox. All right, go ahead. I think it was.
I appreciate that.
No worries. Mr. Williams. Go ahead, Mr. Williams.
I
You're on
feel
mute.
I feel like I should know this answer, but I don't know. It's been a long
Hold
time.
on. Oh, both y'all named Williams. Is
Oh, my first name is
Tahir.
William.
Yeah,
all
Tahir
right.
Williams.
He could go.
I
He's
think
trying
he's
to come.
on
No,
mute.
he's trying to come off a mute. He's having some difficulties. Go ahead, William Payne. Now you're on mute. It's not a virtual meeting unless someone talks on
So
mute.
so my question is does anybody know if the counselors are all veterans or not?
Oh
Some
no,
are veterans, some are not.
yeah, yeah, certainly not all veterans. No.
So that should be my first question. Are you a veteran? Next.
Well, they don't necessarily let you pick and choose who your counselor is, though. So you just gotta kind of look. I mean, they're required by federal law to adhere to these guidelines and to do things the right way. Now, just because that's true doesn't mean it's always going to happen. But if it comes down to brass tacks, if what you're asking for or what you're stating or what you're appealing or whatever the case may be, if it applies directly to these policies, that have been that have been passed in law, then you're going to be right, no matter if you're talking to a veteran, if you're talking to a VA employee. To hear, I think you're on mute. There you go.
Hello.
All right, I got you now. I can hear
Hey,
you.
good morning, folks. Good morning, gentlemen. I want to thank y'all for taking on this Saturday, putting this information together. This will be my first. Oh well, just if I can go back to start. Dominic Outlaw, how you doing, brother? We know each other from the Austin. We go back 26 years from the Austin.
Okay. What's going
I was
on,
in
sir?
here.
How you?
I was in the air department.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
He
Great
didn't lock you
presentation.
up, right? No, don't answer that. Don't answer that.
No, sir. No, sir. But I just want to thank y'all for this information. And actually, the other few of the gentlemen, some of the things that they spoke to, is pretty much my specific situation. I was hurt while on active duty, medically separated 2010. School used I exhausted a good part of my GI Bill. Worked for a good part of 8 years. I got through the disability program through the VA. I worked 8 years, but then I had had another accident outside of my military service, which kind of affected me in my employment. So it took me out of work. I could be direct. I have a TBI. So just with that, outside of my military service, me applying for VR&E, would that be a factor in me? Pretty much, I pretty much had to change my entire coursework from what I did in the Navy. I was an aviation mechanic in the Navy. Got out working in maintenance, exacerbated my disability on my job. I hadn't worked in about 4 years. So me applying for VR&E right now, how would that, all those things, as far as me medically, how would that affect my employment and my educational prospects moving forward?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely opportunity there, and like I said, you don't know unless you try, and if you don't put everything into the trying part of it, then it's always going to be a no. I think John said it at the outset. Wayne Gretzky comment, I miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I'm not trying to give you just punchlines or basic information there to hear. What I'm saying is that you've got to start working through the paperwork in this process to build up your case to be able to have this conversation, because for one, the first thing that you're going to have to overcome is the fact that you've been out since before 2013. So you're going to need to present a case to them that your service-connected disability has gotten worse since 2010. So you're going to be able to explain that and articulate that very specifically about how it's gotten worse. Any medical documentation that you have, it's okay if you don't have, because not all of us always go to the doctor like we should, whether we're hurt or not. But it's okay if you don't have all that material, but whatever you've got that you can build that case that, okay, since 2010, this is what's been going on with me. And this is how my disability has gotten worse, whether they've increased your disability rating or not. It's important to note if they have increased your disability rating at any point along the way, especially after VR&E, I'm sorry, after you've started going to school or after you've got some education or employment, if your disability has gotten worse or they've increased your disability rating, that's a slam dunk for approval. It should be anyway. We got to be cautious about saying that because nothing that feels like it should be a slam dunk is. But what I'm saying to you is that you've got to put that together, put your story together since 2010. Build your story out and talk about how all of it has been affected and how it connects back to your service-connected disability. How everything that's happened in your life for the last 16 years it goes back to your service-connected disability and where it does, and link that to what you've tried to do for work and how it's worked out and how it hasn't, and the effort that you have been trying to put in, and the things that haven't worked out. I mean, a lot of people don't want to talk about it. They don't realize that one of the main things that the VR&E looks at when your employment record is if you got fired. They look at the VR&E looks at that as a very big checkbox in your favor if you've been fired from a job. It's things like this that people think like, well, so this is not a job interview. This needs to be treated like you're preparing for the job interview of your life, except for the fact that you're not trying to make yourself look badass. What you're trying to do is very clearly state what your life story is from the military and forward. That's what you're trying to do here. And it's an interview about that, as opposed to a job interview where you always want to point out all the things that you're great at. No, I mean, so it's kind of a reframing the brain to that approach. Like I said, whether it's you want to work with me again, I'm not accredited via VSO. So if you want to find a VSO that you like working with, or you can email me about it, or I always suggest folks, that's why we built the site. So if you just start going through, filling out all the fields one by one and start populating, and you'll start being able to see your own story in a different light, and you'll see it come together in a way that you can actually have it on a page, written out your story and hand it to somebody and know that it's representing you the right way and what you've been through and where you're at right now. If that makes sense.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. All right, man. Appreciate you, Tier.
Barbara's got two questions. How difficult is it to get an MD?
So yeah, it kind of goes back to what Dominic was saying. I mean, if you can continue to justify and like we keep saying, preparation, articulation, if you can articulate that there is a justification for you to continue to down that career path because of maybe like some of the things that David was talking about earlier, that you got to have all the degrees in the world, but if you don't, if it doesn't apply now, or that's not enough to get you where you need to be, or like even that Joshua was saying, that you've got a bachelor's degree but that's not enough. That's not going to get you the job. So you have to be able to articulate that wherever your current situation is, wherever your education situation is, your employment situation, that you need more education in order to be the most capable and functional member of society and be, as they say, rehabilitated. So it's achievable, but every step of it, like Dominic expounded on earlier, especially going into masters and doctorates, is going to require all the more preparation, all the more justification on your end, and being able to tell that story. But it's doable.
She said, "What if you were fired multiple times?"
That's part of your story, and that's part of look, what you do with anything is in this program is that you tie it back to your disability. So I was fired because I kept on getting frustrated, with management talking to me and having deadlines and me not able, me feeling like in an unsafe environment. It was triggering my PTSD, or I wasn't able to show up on time for work because of my sleep schedule, because of my neck pain or my back pain, or my shoulder pain, or whatever the case may be. My breathing because of lung damage from the military. So I don't sleep very good, so it's hard for me to get up for work on time, and things like this. Because of that fact is why I got fired, and they actually look at that as a major factor in approving you for the program.
And then the other piece with that is also tied with, if you had that, keep a log of that. But then also when you go to the doctor, keep a log of the doctor, right? If you saying I can't go, I was missing work, I was late for work because I was having anxiety or headaches at night that kept me up. Then I also went to my doctor on this day, let's say it was February the 5th, and I went back into like mental health or something like that, or he gave me a new prescription on these medicines, a stronger prescription, and the doctor could write a note saying, hey, this client or member came to me on this day, had headaches or whatever it was in February. A new prescription was thing, and I feel like make an explanation for it. So when you see a VR&E counselor, not only did you got fired for, let's say it was being late or always late, never on time, but you had, because of your, like you said, the medical condition, you had a doctor's note attached to that. To when you talk to your counselor, it all lines up. So it's one thing to say you always late, like maybe that's a you thing, right? But it's another thing to tie it into your disability. There's another thing to say, I also went to the doctor when they upped my medication on this. So all lays out. So not only you being honest, transparent, the doctor being honest and transparent, and then you get new medication and whatever physical therapy you might be going on, mental health appointments. Again, all that ties together when you're trying to paint this picture for yourself. Because unbeknownst to everybody, like every some people don't come to VR&E with the honest, open, and truthful reasons why they want VR&E, right? So they try to, it's not to say they weed people out, but they just don't want to give to everybody. They want people to have real issues, real problems, get these services. Not just I want to get a better education, or I want to go back to school because I want to go back to school. You know what I mean? So that's why it's more layered and more detailed. And I know it's a lot for, especially when you have conditions and you have issues, but this is just a part of the process because now everybody was true and honest when they got into VR&E or did their part. So we have to feel, just like in the military when they say, hey, we got, sometimes you got to suffer in blood, or somebody did this, so now we got new policies, new changes, and we got to adapt to those changes because somebody drunk and drive or somebody did this and that. It's no different than with this process on the outside with VR&E.
Yeah, really good point there.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Another question. Yeah, I think so. Just to kind of add on, right? There's this. It's a recurring theme here, and you guys have heard it repeatedly, right? Um, it's an entitle or not entitlement, but it's a benefit. It's a resource. It's something available to you, but you still got to put some skin in the game to provide the justification. So whatever red tape or obstacle you're going through, it's consistent. It's on you to provide that burden of proof. And really just bring everything. You got to put all the puzzle pieces together, right? If you dump a puzzle on a table, it doesn't show you the full picture. But once you put it all together, you kind of get to that end state. What you got, David?
Yeah. So the question I had was, when you're looking at the application and whatnot, it's the disabilities that you have currently rated, correct? Not ones that you haven't claimed, or
No,
like, yeah, right?
no, that's a great question, David. So yeah, it's not just okay, so yes, they're looking at what's currently rated,
Mm-hmm.
but a big part of that, and I'm glad you brought this up, is that if it's gotten worse, that doesn't mean that you're going to get your rating is going to change necessarily, but it most definitely can, and in most cases will get worse over time, right? These
Mm-hmm.
disabilities that we have. So there is not a burden of proof on you to necessarily prove a whole lot about how it's gotten worse. Your disabilities have gotten worse. Now, anything that you have to bring to the table
Mm-hmm.
to back that up is just going to be all the more powerful. So you definitely want to back that up as much as you can. But no, you don't have to go get a rating change in order to have it be considered by the VR&E, not by a long shot. Matter of fact, quite the opposite. If your disability has gotten worse, then that's what this program is for.
Mm-hmm. And the add-on to that question is that it's a rating or an issue that you have that's not currently rated.
Okay.
That was the
Oh, I see.
yeah.
If it's an issue they have that's not currently rated, it's going to be hard for them to apply it to to this program.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage you to go try to get that rated.
Mm-hmm.
There's ways to articulate it that you can say, okay, well, because of my because of my lungs, I cough so much that now I've started to have problems with sinusitis and swallowing and stuff, or maybe it's starting to give you like constant chronic back pain because of coughing or something like that. So those may not be rated things, but if they're in any way you can tie them to an existing rating that you have, then that would be the other alternative.
Yeah, so I was taking medication that was given and had making you dizzy all the time, which I had a bunch of falls. Well, when I fell down a flight of stairs, I ended up with a TBI, which is caused where my brain will shut one eye after the other, which means I can't drive because it's got. So I go to vision therapy every week for the last 3 years, and anyway, but I didn't apply for it because it opens you up to all the other ones. So
Yeah. Well, that's definitely a story that's connected, and that's part of your story. So
mhm.
I would definitely connect that, and that be a part of what you articulate to your counselor for sure. Most
Okay.
definitely,
Thank you.
of course.
Well, I mean, that's if there's any more questions, I won't leave anybody thoughts, questions last time around the table.
Yeah, I encourage you guys to go through the chat. I dropped the LinkedIn's for all of us. I dropped the VetNavPro website a few times in there as well. So if you haven't bookmarked all those things or saved those links, I'd encourage you to do so. Also drop some additional resources. IT seems to be a common thread on here. So Cloud Veterans does one free boot camp for veterans. If you're not familiar with them, I think they require you get it done within like 90 days, but they have like over a dozen boot camps. Act Now Education is a common resource. And then in Act Now Education, they also have a landing page with just a ton of different types of resources. And so you can put multiple irons in the fire with regard to this, right? While you're pursuing VR&E, there are other things that you can dive into that, it's going to require some of your bandwidth, but can also help in the long game because you'll be able to stack up the different certifications, especially when we're talking about the IT. I see you. Have my daughter waiting patiently for me here. But so yeah, make sure you go through the chat and look at those links and connect. Yeah, Books to Bites or Boots to Bites, excuse me. Yeah, there's a ton of them out there. It's an ocean of goodwill, so feel free to drown yourself in all those certifications.
Caleb, you got any closing words?
Not other than just the fact that I want to thank everybody for reaching out, for being honest, for being open, and you know, I don't have it all figured out. Nobody has it all figured out. If anybody promises that, then you should probably be pretty wary of it. But we can support each other in our military community, our veteran community together, and this is just another tool that I hope is valuable for you guys. But more than anything, it's hard to get the medic out of my blood, and it's I live for helping folks and trying to help folks out. So that what makes me feel relevant and gives me purpose in life. And so anything that I can do to help any of you folks out or anybody that I'll make time. But I built a system, so hopefully that can help more people than just I can by myself or any VSO if they can by themselves or Dominic or John. And hopefully that's something that's valuable to y'all. But I really appreciate everybody who's joining today. And then most importantly, for me, Dominic and John, appreciate you guys inviting me to be a part of this. And it's a really good thing that you guys are doing here. And any way that I can help continue to support it, I will.
Super awesome, brother, man. Thank you so much for your time. Go ahead, Dominic.
Appreciate it. Like I just want to say I thank you, Caleb. Everybody, y'all can give a round of applause to Caleb. He put out a lot of great information today. A lot of things are like eye-opening, you know what I mean, when you go through that process of VR&E and stuff of that nature. I appreciate it. Hopefully we can do this again in the future. So as we wrap up, again, you got our LinkedIn's. If you need anything, you got more questions or something like that, please reach out to us. Caleb's already gave you the open door. Like, hey, reach out to me. The website is there. Sign up, dive in, ask all the questions. He already said, I want you to break the site. See if you got discrepancies, you see something that you need more of, a little change up, give him that feedback. Because when you start something, it's always good before you go more and more layers to see in the initial stages of it, hey, I can fix the consumer. You are the consumer, like for the website. Like it's always know as the person who trying to create something, what does the consumer really want? And like that's it. But overall, man, the next one of these, we probably try. I'm gonna try to do it even next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I will push it out on LinkedIn or whatever. And like I'm in talks right now with my VR&E counselor, so I might try to double back with VR&E. So we had a great conversation today with an actual counselor to come on and talk about some of the things as well. So that'll be try to be the next one of it. If not, we're gonna go to a different route. I definitely push it out on LinkedIn. Again, y'all got our LinkedIn's. Let us know if you need anything. I appreciate y'all time. I hope y'all got something from this. And if you have follow-up questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Caleb, John, or myself, and we'll try to answer those questions and be supportive as much as we can. And
Yeah, real quick, don't close out just yet. Got a question that I received earlier, but for those slides, Caleb, are there anywhere that they could get those, or is that kind of proprietary?
Yeah, no, I have no problem sharing those. Let me see if I can just drop them in the chat real quick.
All right, and then while I really appreciate that, and then while you do that, for all you guys, I would just encourage you guys, right? Again, hit us up on LinkedIn, connect with us, and when you see this information, help us force multiply, share the flyer, share the events. We want to get this information out. We had a really great discussion last month with regards to VA claims. We had an amazing discussion this time with regards to VetNavPro. And Dominic and I are going to continue to put these things together to bring the information to the table. And if you've been on board, please share it, push it out. Please come back. If there's things that you are having trouble navigating, or you think that, hey, we'd love to hear from a subject matter expert in this field, let Dominic and I know, and then we can put our resources together. And if you're in Hampton Roads, hit me up. Let's grab a cup of coffee. Me, you, and Dominic can sit down.
I'm gonna have to make a trip out there. They're gonna show me the best place to eat. I just dropped that VetNavPro slideshow in there in the chat. And y'all can also email me too, and I can get it to you on the side or whatever's easiest.
We'll give you guys a quick second to download that.
One last thing. Also, I don't know where everybody stays in. Also, connect to your state. Your state has services for you, for as veterans. They have certification stuff. Like every state has a veteran program. So if you know New York, New Jersey, Mississippi, Oklahoma, Arkansas, they have a state. If you Google it, state program for veterans, like your state. If it's Georgia, Georgia state program. So when you Google that, fill out that intake form, and you'll probably get some type of intake form. After you fill it out, you start getting resources from the state because everybody's funded to help veterans per their state. So if you haven't tapped into the state stuff, it's Georgia, Mississippi, Oklahoma, whatever it is, tap into the state because they have a lot of resources outside of the federal side. They have they give qualifications, training, etc., resume support, whatever you may be looking for. Some even state jobs. Sometimes we really want to get this job, but we want to do it on the federal side. But the state might have that same job open, and you have the skill set for it. So that's the last I'll leave y'all in closing. I appreciate y'all time, and then we'll look out on LinkedIn and stuff. We'll push out another one, hopefully with the actual VR&E counselor to talk about a few things, or we just go from there. If you have ideas or something like I really want to talk about, if it's resumes, if it's like skill trades or something like that, let us know, and then we'll try to host that as well. But outside of that, thank y'all so much. Thank you again, Caleb. And we'll probably do this again in the future. And go ahead, Dave.
One question. So on LinkedIn, is there something that we would follow so we get the update?
You can just follow our respective pages, like myself, Dom,
yeah.
and then John, and we push it out.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, just make sure your settings are set to follow too, so that way when we do post, you actually get them.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that concludes it. I thank y'all so much. Thanks again, Caleb. Thanks again, John. Hopefully everybody got something from it, and then we'll see each other either next week or the following week.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, y'all.